Greetings, and welcome to the League of Women Voters Meet the Candidates Forum, a program produced in collaboration with WTJX-TV for well over 35 years. I am Francine Lang, moderator for today's program. As I live and care for an elderly relative who may be immunocompromised due to advanced age, I have chosen to wear a mask for today's program. I ask your understanding and acceptance of my decision as I strive to protect her. It is the League's hope that through these programs, you, the voting public, will have a better understanding of each candidate running for elective office in the U.S. Virgin Islands. We invite you to look at all our programs for the 2022 election year right here on WTJX-TV, with candidates seeking office as a senator in the 35th legislature, or as governor, or as lieutenant governor. Although all candidates for these positions were invited, not all responded or accepted the invitation. We're delighted to have here today, however, 3 candidates running for the position of senator in the St. Croix district. The candidates have been informed in advance of the guidelines for the program. No candidate had access to the questions in advance. The first responder to each question will be rotated among the participants. Answers are generally 60 or 90 seconds. Changes in timing of a question will be announced in advance. Any comment directed specifically at another participant will be followed by a rebuttal of 60 seconds. All are expected to be respectful of everyone. So let's begin. I will ask each candidate to identify who they are and to state their political affiliation and ballot number. We will learn more about each as our discussion ensues. Candidate, please state your name, ballot number, and affiliation, please.
Good evening. I am Genevieve Whitaker. I am number 5 on the ballot, and my affiliation, I'm a Democrat.
Thank you. And Mr. Monarch Wakefield, candidate, please state your name, ballot number, and affiliation, please.
I am Monarch Wakefield, James P.G. Monarch Wakefield. I am vying for a seat in the 35th legislature, and I am an independent candidate.
And now, Nemi Williams-Jackson. Candidate, please state your name, your ballot number, and affiliation, please.
Hi, I am Nemi Jackson, Democratic senatorial candidate for the 35th legislature, and my number is 15.
Thank you. Now for our first question. Let's begin by talking about your readiness to be a senator. Here is a 2-part question for which you will each have 90 seconds to answer. And it's 2 sections. As a candidate for a seat in the VA legislature, what are your competencies as well as education or training that will make you a good choice to address our issues as a senator? And what are your recent accomplishments that show your skills and readiness to assume the responsibilities of the office? So please answer both parts of the questions in 90 seconds. What are your competencies and your accomplishments related to the responsibilities of the position? Again, you'll have 90 seconds each. We'll start with Ms. Whitaker.
Thank you. In terms of my background, I hold a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Government and World Affairs. I hold a law degree and additional master's degree, master's degree in political management, and another master's degree in criminal justice, specifically focused as I've centered my work on youth crime prevention. In terms of, and my readiness also included obtaining certificates from Harvard University's School Executive Management certificate focused in the area of the works in the areas of political engagement and preparedness for office, as well as I obtained a executive certificate from Oxford University Said School of Business, where I received a certificate in Women Transforming Leadership, focusing on readiness for political office. In terms of my background and my accomplishments now as a senator, chiefly sponsoring a series of legislation. I have over 50 sponsored legislation. And in addition to that, a lot of it's centered on my 3 platform areas. I'm proud to say that I've sponsored legislation to address our curriculum issues. I'm proud to express the fact that I have in fact engaged in stakeholder engagement, and my accomplishments really in restoring our youth infrastructure. I'm very proud of that. Thank you, and I look forward to serving you and humbly asking for your support and your vote.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wakefield, you also have 90 seconds. Did you need me to read the questions again?
Yes.
Okay, so what are your competencies and your accomplishments related to the responsibilities of the position?
Thank you. Greetings. I'm James Wakefield again, Monarch Wakefield. I'm a graduate of the University of Virgin Islands, social science major. I'm a 12-year combat military veteran. I've served on many boards. As far as the Housing Authority is concerned, I've been a resident leadership position, youth advocate, elderly advocate, homeownership movement advocate. I was involved community activism, social activism, English tutor, representative for veterans on the university campus, and I'm down in the trenches working hard. I'm committed to the growth and development of the people of the Virgin Islands. I'm Monarch Wakefield, James P.J. Monarch Wakefield, number 7 on your ballot.
Thank you, Mr. Wakefield. And Ms. Jackson, did you need me to read the question over?
No, ma'am.
90 seconds.
Good evening again. I'm Nemi Jackson, number 15 on the ballot. I possess a bachelor's in intermediate education, a master's in management and administration in education. I have served this community in many capacities as a teacher, as deputy commissioner of sports park and recreation, as a coach and advocate, and therefore I know I'm ready. As a teacher, I have ensured that students receive the same benefits that I have. As an educator, I have taught students many skills and lessons they'll be able to utilize for their lifetime. I've served this community in many capacities in leadership position in organizations such as Rotary of St. Croix West, which emphasis is service above self. With all my background, I am ready now to serve this community in the capacity as a legislator. And my name again, Nemi Jackson, number 15 on the ballot.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Okay, so the second question now, we'll start the rotation with Mr. Wakefield. Let's now talk about your vision for the Virgin Islands. 2027 will mark the 100th anniversary of American citizenship for Virgin Islanders and 110 years since the purchase from Denmark. The question is, what is your vision with respect to self-governance for the U.S. Virgin Islands, and what role do you intend to play, if any? Please note that self-governance does not necessarily imply independence. You have 60 seconds.
My vision for the Virgin Islands is clearly this: empowerment through an enhanced status, an enhanced relationship with the United States of America. As a combat veteran, I understand and I know the greatness of this nation, and I am proud to share American heritage as well as a heritage from African ancestry. But the Virgin Islands right now, our current status has put us in a position of stagnation, and we need to advocate for an enhanced status that will allow us to be more self-determined and empowered. And we need to closely review our status and revisit the convention aspect of it to advocate for more autonomy.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, again, you have 60 seconds.
Will you repeat the question?
Sure. What is your vision with respect to self-governance for the U.S. Virgin Islands, and what role do you intend to play, if any? And again, self-governance does not necessarily imply independence. And this is in relation to the 227th anniversary, 100th anniversary of the American citizenship, and 110 years since the purchase from Denmark.
Okay, thank you for the question. And one of the questions that we must ask ourselves is, what have we gained as citizens of the U.S. Of America? However, self-sufficiency. on a path so that we can sustain ourselves. That's what I would like to see for our people. Being able to stand on our own 2 feet, being able to feed ourselves and not rely on import goods, being able to govern our own educational system based on our culture, based on who we are. The role I can play is actually empowering everyone to know that they have to believe in themselves. In order for us to be self-sufficient, in order for us to do anything relative to the direction the path that you're telling us, we have to be able to believe in ourselves and take care of ourselves. And self-sufficiency is the way that I would like to see us going.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Whitaker?
Thank you. Before you, I'm a champion for this particular cause. First off, in my efforts for us to have Virgin Islands and Caribbean history taught in our school from kindergarten to 12th grade, I've long advocated for that, even as a senator, having actually crafted legislation to move forward in that regard so we can empower our youth to understand and know their history. I've also sponsored legislation regarding the insular cases to join with Guam and other territories in pushing for the overturn of those insular racist cases that has us placed in the position we are. Additionally, I continue to advocate on the international levels. I am continuing the work to address our colonial status. I have advocated the United Nations. I have also trained individuals, and I look forward to bringing us forward. The pathway, we have to continue to advocate for our rights.
Thank you very much. And our next question, we will start with Ms. Jackson. To what extent should moral or ethical issues in the private life of political candidates be taken into account by voters in making their choices, and why? 60 seconds.
To the largest extent, we are examples. We are supposed to be setting examples for our youngsters to follow. So our ethical values should be in line with good characters. So I truly feel that we should not take lightly the behavior of individuals we select to represent us, and they should be able to set good examples for others to follow.
Thank you. And then we will go to Ms. Whitaker for the same question, 60 seconds.
Thank you. I've taught ethics. I've taught ethics at the university level because that's one of the positions I held. And also, when we talk about ethics, it's important to build character, and that's why I continue to drive home the importance of the character education curriculum that our Department of Education should be making sure they institute within the school system. Ethics really drives the agenda of moving forward. As one who's taken a lot of stances against unethical issues, addressing issues such as conflict of interest, we have a lot of work to do in this space by way of education, building character, by way of even addressing conflicts. We are in a small community and there are a lot of conflicts of interest that need to be addressed. But ultimately, ethics is something that you learn and something that you can be trained to properly execute. So I look forward to continuing work in this space.
Thank you. And Mr. Wakefield, again, 60 seconds.
Character, good moral standing, a sterling moral standing is extremely important. Leaders should set the example because they influence whether it must be exemplified, and whatever they do can affect our community negatively or positively. So it's extremely important. It's inextricable.
Thank you. Okay, so our next question, we will start with Ms. Whitaker. In a recent poll of the electorate in 2022, voters identified 4 areas of major concern as being education, crime, health, and WAPA. Let's look at each one separately and address what your responses would be for these matters if elected to the 35th legislature. With respect to education, cited by voters as one of 4 major concerns, what do you see as the primary challenges facing education today, and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature? You have 90 seconds.
As a senator right now, I am the chairwoman of the Committee on Education and Workforce Development. So that has been an engagement of oversight utilizing the federal funds to ensure that we address our curriculum matters. After school program, the learning loss faced by our children. Even today as I got into this program, emergency meetings, internal meetings, hearings and the like. But most importantly, as we address the issue of curriculum, it is a total reform necessary. We have to have more individuals. We need to shore up the teacher corps. We need to support our teachers. We need to increase the funding. We need to make it more attractive. We also have security concerns on our campus, and we have to make our campuses more safe. And with education, I hope, and going into the 35th, with your support and your vote, I will be able to work with some more colleagues who would support me as I crafted the most amount of education legislation to help with our children's skill development so that we can have our children prepared for the workforce as well as entrepreneurship. And with that effort, all tied into crime prevention, because the more of our children who are educated and have the skills, the less likely they will end up in a life of crime. Health is also involved in this as well, because one of the things I've pushed for is addressing the school lunch program and nutrition. I've also crafted legislation to address what I believe in as naturopathic healthcare, all aligned, all connected, intertwined with education.
Thank you. And Mr. Wakefield, again, you have 90 seconds.
Education is paramount, and we must do our utmost to revamp our educational system, depoliticize, reduce excess politics from our educational system, because the politics influences to the extent where it impedes the ability of the teachers and those who have direct impact on the minds of our children. It impedes them from doing their best. So reduce the politics from the school system and allow the board to do its job, and empower teachers to do the best they can do by paying them properly and make sure they have the tools to work with. As far as crime is concerned, we need an all-hands effort now. Crime is out of control to the point where the Virgin Islands, we are declining precipitously. We must take a step of deterrent whereby we address the influx of proliferation of guns. We need to have the National Guard mobilized, even if for a 90-day trial period, to target specific communities where we know guns are stored and there's guns are circulating around our Virgin Islands. Like you could get a gun like you're buying a chocolate bar. These are things that we need to address head on. We can no longer delay, okay? So it's a combination of education along with good deterrence and a balanced economy.
Thank you. And Ms. Jackson, again, you have 90 seconds.
As an educator and an employee of the Department of Education, I support what is happening in the Department of Education, which I'll go back to. But one of the challenges that you asked for is the structure that the teachers are tasked with delivering instruction. It must continue to be conducive for learning, and that's a big issue. So what I would work with my colleague in doing is to remove the maintenance part from under the superintendent responsibility, because superintendents are supposed to be responsible for the education of our children. I also support delivery of instruction based on standard. No matter where your child goes to school in the territory, knowing that all of them are in 3rd grade, being taught the same thing and not taught what the teacher at that particular time deem important is so imperative. We need to make sure that parents know what their child should be learning so that that check and balance within the department can happen. Our teachers must be placed in environments that are conducive for learning. They must be given the resources necessary to deliver instruction. And as a legislator, I will make sure that monies are set aside for our teachers to get what they need to deliver instruction based on a curriculum.
Thank you very much. With respect to health, cited by voters as one of the top 4 major concerns, many leave the territory in search of health care, especially on St. Croix. What do you see as the primary challenges regarding health care, and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature? Mr. Wakefield, we'll start with you, and you have 90 seconds.
We must set the tone that health care is extremely important to a prosperous, successful, happy society. Right now, it's almost 5 years since the hurricanes Irma and Maria, respectively, has devastated the Virgin Islands. Our hospital, the Wangaf Louis Hospital, is in shambles. It's still in disrepair, and nothing is being done. There's a modular that's pending to be online. Up to this day, it still has not come online. We need to take healthcare as a priority. Our people are dying and they're flying out. We need strong leaders who have the political will to take the challenge, to push forth an agenda for the people.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, again, you have 90 seconds.
Healthcare system must be maintained for the members of this community. That is very important. I agree with that and I stand by that. As a senator, I will make sure that first of all, with our hospital infrastructure, the condition, we have to be strong enough to confront those who are responsible right now to do the construction, to make sure that it's accessible to our people. And then my method will be, let's approach it from a preventative standpoint. It's no longer good enough to have reactive care. We have to have preventative care. So making sure that we build a good private-public partnership so that we can have programs that will empower our community to take care of themselves so that we can decrease the chronic disease, the ills of our community as it relates to health. The health of our people. I have been instrumental in the implementation of the body mass index program in our school system, and that allows our children to become aware of their health and how it relates to their health condition. And with that, that's an approach that is preventing ailments of our children and when they transition into adulthood. So I will also advocate for more programs, more partnership with healthcare providers, so that we can empower our people in the community to live better lives.
Thank you. And Ms. Whitaker, again, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. As a senator, I have been driving home prevention, centered on my work in the naturopathic healthcare space, and really both working to institute the first ever board, and actually moving forward, the Board of Naturopathic Healthcare for the Virgin Islands, as well as even updating the medicinal aspect of the law. Also in this space, intensive oversight efforts. As I'm concerned about the workers, our healthcare workers, they have, whether they're at the hospital, at the Wang Louis Hospital, Charles Howard Hospital, all of our health workers at the different spaces, I have addressed issues surrounding their work environments, which is critical. And I just continue to call upon the leaders of these departments to continue to go forward with measures to ensure the safety of the employees. Additionally, in this space, really working on legislation to support what's known as mobile integrative healthcare, and just doing my part to add and to work on supportive services. Many individuals following the storms were left without healthcare, and a mobile unit was really critical to that work. And so in that way, I've worked with our healthcare stakeholders and even in the education space, because if we're going to solve healthcare, we also need to shore up the next set of healthcare workers. And so that's why I continue to drive home curriculum and continue to move in that space with curriculum reform and oversight.
Thank you. With respect to crime, cited by voters as one of the top 4 major concerns, this is a 2-part question. What do you see as the challenges, and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature? I'll give each person 90 seconds for the first section, and then we'll go to the second question, and the same rotation will be followed for the second section. So we'll start with Ms. Jackson.
What question am I supposed to be answering?
It said, with respect to crime, cited by voters as one of the top 4 major concerns. So the first part of the question is, what do you see as the challenges, and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature?
The challenges are assuring that we have sufficient officers for our community safety. We need to make sure that we can recruit, retain, and put our officers to work, and not with the extent of overtime. We need individuals who are alert to be in our communities for the safety of our community. That's one of the challenges. And what do I plan to do? What I think I can do? I think it starts from our children. We need more after-school, out-of-school program. We need to decrease juvenile delinquency, and that is by tapping into the programs that are necessary to give those types of services to our community. Our recreational facilities need to serve as safe haven for our children, so we can have changed behavior, so our children can be exposed to structure in their lives instead of the parents out to working hard to put food on the table, and the children are locked home behind closed doors with lack of supervision. So we need more extracurricular activity, out of school programs in order to bring back structure to our community.
Thank you. And Ms. Whitaker, again, what do you see as the challenges and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature with respect to crime? 90 seconds, please.
Thank you. The challenges really stem, of course, going back to education and our children leaving with school with skills. Also, our framework. We broke down a generation ago our youth infrastructure. So that has been the restoral of and working to restore the Youth Commission, reinstituting the Legislative Youth Advisory Council, which is the Youth Senate, because our young people are also part of this solution in them and us supporting their leadership to address crime. With crime as well and addressing crime prevention, we have to look into, and that goes, I believe, deeply in issues surrounding nutrition. That's why I'm also pushing for more prevention and in the area of healthcare, whereby we ensure that we help those and have more healthy minds and bodies. That's also critical when we talk about crime prevention. We also have an infrastructure that needs to be restored with respect to our law enforcement, the Law Enforcement Planning Commission, and we need to properly use our juvenile justice funds. And that's why I have crafted legislation to establish a first ever youth court of the Virgin Islands, which is in tandem with my work, having worked in a youth court space and been part of an ecosystem whereby the issues surrounding crime prevention were addressed. We have to attack it holistically. We have to get into the hearts and minds of our children and into those individuals who will help support our children. And yes, after school program, number 5 on the ballot, Genevieve Whitaker.
Thank you. And Mr. Wakefield, did you need me to go over the question again?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
We need
90
to
seconds.
be more proactive when it comes to the youth. I'm a youth advocate and have been for the last 10 years. I'm a product of the Police Athletic League under Mr. Ronald Rookie Jackson, and I find that our youth are not a priority in this community anymore. We don't have parks, we don't have leagues, we don't have counselors out there, coaches out there, getting children together in large groups and moving with them and guiding them and helping them to be a part of the community, helping them to learn conflict resolution, helping them to have self-esteem and be proud of themselves. We need to do more for our children. We need more programs to advocate for them. And we have to stop the reactive behavior. We need crime prevention for our children. We don't need to let our children constantly recycle through the criminal justice system and become recidivists. We need to cut down on that and focus more on the prevention, focus on the education, focus on the recreation, focus on psychosocial development. These are the areas we need to address, and we need to make sure that funding are in place to address these issues. And as far as the police department, yes, but we need to see more police neighborhood connection, building relationships with the community-oriented policing. But prevention is the way, and addressing and directly focusing on crime prevention.
Thank you. So the second part of this question with respect to crime is sexual assault against our children is a concern in our community. Recent disclosure of assaults against 12 schoolboys by a teacher is shocking, and the community was rightfully outraged. But girls are also raped and assaulted too. How can you, as a senator, protect our boys and girls from sexual assaults by adults? You'll have 60 seconds to answer this question, and we'll start again in the same rotation with Ms. Jackson going first.
We need to make sure we channel money, and as a legislator, we can do that. Put money into programs that can educate and train our teachers, train those individuals who are first responders to situations like sex adults. We need to sex assault. We need to train our parents, have programs to train our parents to deal with situations such as that. We need to make sure that we create the environment to assure that the students feel comfortable in coming forward. So as a legislature, making sure that monies are appropriated for programs that can help in those situations will be something that I will definitely work with my colleagues to do.
Thank you. And Ms. Whitaker, again, 60 seconds.
We have to hold individuals accountable. In this particular situation that we were facing in the Virgin Islands, we had failed leaders, children whose the administrators and individuals fail them. And so we have to hold them accountable. And that's why in that particular case, I drove home the issue through oversight. And when I speak of oversight, directly engaging the Attorney General, obviously Commissioner of Education, Commissioner of Human Service, Police Department, just engaging everybody and the governor, everyone, to get an answer, to get to the bottom of it. I did ask Commissioner Kazi Gomez to reach out to the community and working with me, because the Human Services took the lead in that case, where they were working on really moving forward so that will never happen again. The resources and the training, but it's about holding the people accountable. And in the 35th, I want colleagues to work with me to hold individuals accountable to stop these kinds of things happening on campuses.
Thank you. And Mr. Wakefield, 60 seconds.
We need to vet people who are working with children very carefully. Then we need a constant monitoring on them, random inspections, checking on our children and checking on things that are going on. These individuals working with children at any age, under age group, they should be monitored, and there should be programs and policies in place that will allow for these individuals to be monitored and for the children to be visited and be reviewed, and to check on their progress and to check if things are going negatively or positively. We got to talk to them, and that means that it requires monitoring, getting involved. Don't just leave people with your children, let them do what they want. They must prove that they are worthy to influence our children.
Thank you. With respect to WAPA as one of the top 4 concerns cited by voters, what do you see as the major challenges for WAPA, and what would be your strategies for addressing them as a senator in the 35th legislature? We'll start with Ms. Whitaker, and you have 90 seconds.
As an ex officio member of the Public Services Commission, as a senator appointed to that commission, I have been able to obtain really first-hand knowledge of the intricacies and the root causes of the Water and Power Authority. With that said, it is about really addressing in an oversight manner a lot of unethical issues, a lot of contractual, a lot of issues that are very, very deep. Additionally, it is really holding the WAPA leadership accountable to all the recommendations made by the PSC and other officials with respect to addressing the structural issues, the customer service issues, and also going forward in making sure that we don't get into any deals, that the WAPA board has the requisite individuals on the board to drive home an agenda. I have been working on initiatives surrounding energy development and really shifting the focus on addressing our complete unstable network. I will continue to drive home, with your support in the 35th legislature, the oversight necessary to hold WAPA accountable, the board, as well as to move forward with initiatives to totally reinvigorate and totally to reestablish our energy system infrastructure. I am number 5 on the ballot, humbly asking for your support.
Thank you. Mr. Wakefield, and you have 90 seconds.
Monarch Wakefield, number 7 on the ballot. We need to diversify our energy producing sources. WAPA has failed us. We know what the problem is with WAPA, so we don't need to focus on WAPA. We need to look where we can expand and target ways to not depend on WAPA as the sole producer of energy anymore. WAPA has proven to the people they cannot be trusted and they're unreliable. WAPA has caused so many losses to the people of the Virgin Islands without any accountability. And as it relates to the structure and the administration and ethical issues, that's a whole different gamut. But what we need to focus on is bringing relief to our people now.
Thank you. And Ms. Jackson, 90 seconds.
Thank you. Relative to the situation with WAPA, we must continue to expose our residents into shifting to solar. The reliability on WAPA for our electricity is heavy, and we must hold individuals who is on the board accountable for all that they need to distribute and how they serve our people. The structure must be fixed. We must look on fixing the infrastructure for the distribution of electricity. And relative to reading your meter, I really believe and truly feel that our meters need to be read every month. You know, how it is presently needs to be altered. So we must allocate and find funding so that we can relieve WAPA of some of the weight in encouraging individual residents to go to solar and then fix our infrastructure. I would advocate to fix the infrastructure for WAPA.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Mr. Wakefield. For the first time in about 25 years, GERS was not identified as a major concern. What is your understanding of why this is so, and what lessons can we learn about how this came to be so? 60 seconds.
Well, quite frankly, GRS was a runaway train, and GRS leadership made very many frivolous decisions that caused GRS to have become insolvent. Now that they have found a substantial way to make GRS solvent again, we must monitor. We must closely watch them. And I think that there should be some kind of review as to what decisions they are making in terms of investments, because a lot of the investment decisions caused GRS to fail. Like they invested into Seaborn get up and left the Virgin Islands. They invested into Carambola went belly up. Then they turned around and sold Carambola for $9 million. I mean, you're not investing in, you're not running hotels, but you could have leased the property, not sell it. You see, so I don't think that they've been doing a good business, and I think there are some ethical concerns as well.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
Lessons learned, the government, the general government fuels GRS. And when I began working, I started off with $13,000 annually. And 25 years after, individuals probably starting off with $30,000 is paying the same percentage into WAPA. Additionally, we cannot, and I believe it has been discontinued, but a lesson learned, we cannot give in regular employees a lump sum that they did not put into GRS. The whole system suffers based on that. So we must make sure we have sufficient employees to fuel GRS. We must make sure that we have a scale relative to your date of entry and the income that you're entering in, so that we can increase the percentage that individual contribute.
Thank you. And Ms. Whitaker, 60 seconds.
So I'm proud to be a part of the 34th legislature, in which we in fact move forward with addressing the issue, at least an interim, for, of the solvency of GRS. And it's not a complete solution, because with that, it's important that as we go forward, that we engage in a proper oversight. It was a collaborative effort between the governor's office and the legislature. For even the previous legislature, the governor having sent down legislation that was not amenable, that would have put unnecessary burdens onto future generations. The 34th, working with the governor, was able to craft legislation to not put on that type of burden as the previous efforts. So as we move forward, the special purpose vehicle, ensuring that unlike the poor investments of the past, that we are properly moving forward to continue addressing the issue of solvency.
Thank you. Now we're going to turn to economic development. Let's talk about growing the economy. While tourism is the backbone of our economy, the majority of the electorate do not work in that industry. Many work in government, but that does little to bring in new dollars. So what's left is the private sector. What have you done or plan to do as a senator to grow or support the private sector and to encourage more locals to become successful in the private sector? And you'll each have 60 seconds. We'll start with Ms. Jackson.
Okay, thank you for the question. First of all, the microloan is an initiative that is policy right now where businesses get $15,000 for startup, for small businesses. A dollar value years ago is not the same now. So that needs to be adjusted. And for example, it should be $50,000 or more. That's a policy that will be adjusted in the if I become a senator, when I become a senator. Additionally, our school structure, we need individuals, entrepreneurs, so we need to make the curriculum adjustment that will encourage our young people to become entrepreneurs and then educate them on all the initiative and incentive that they can take part in that will allow them, afford them the opportunity to be successful in their venture.
Thank you. And Ms. Whitaker, 60 seconds.
Thank you. And economic development and support for our local businesses is part of my continuing platform. I have driven down on this 2040 vision of the Economic Development Authority, engaging and working with CEO Biggs and the EDA leadership, legislatively and policy-wise, to ensure that we better support our small businesses. For one, there was once a barrier that was addressed in the 34th, along with my colleagues, for us to remove the barrier that required home ownership in order to participate in an EDA program. I'm continuing to work on even amending legislation to address barriers for our small business to be able to have the opportunity to properly start up. The unfortunate situation is that even through a lot of the federal funds that have been coming in through the Development Block Grant Program, not a lot of funds went towards the small businesses. We must change that, and as your senator, I will continue to work in this space and supporting our small businesses.
Thank you. And Mr. Wakefield, again, 60 seconds.
As a business owner, the climate and the environment for doing business, the legislature can play a key role in setting the tone. Starting a business in the U.S. Virgin Islands is a cumbersome process. We need to address that and resolve that. We need to amend the code as it relates to the EDC beneficiaries. We need to pass that benefit on to local businesses, small business. I'm a veteran business owner, and I understand the struggles, and we need to have tax incentives for small businesses as well. So this is something that has to be addressed comprehensively, but definitely there needs to be relief so people can be attracted to the Virgin Islands and be desirous of starting businesses here and sustain them.
Thank you. The pandemic has shown us that we need to diversify our economy and supplement our dependence on tourism. What other opportunities do you see besides tourism and alcohol for growing and diversifying our economy? And what are the challenges to making them a reality? We'll start with Ms. Whitaker, and you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. That goes back a lot to the skill development that I spoke of earlier. It is important in order for us to achieve more economic development and more support in that area, we have to develop the skills and really support entrepreneurship. As a senator, I will continue to work in the space of really working on the critical initiatives to support us expanding. I'm a big promoter of what is known as historic tourism. That's why it is important that our children be shored up in their understanding of Virgin Islands and Caribbean history. It is going to be really important that our Department of Tourism put a lot more resources working on the areas of building up our economy. Also, more support for small businesses in their small businesses with respect to their various products and services.
Thank you. And Mr. Whitaker, again, Mr. Wakefield.
Let's face it, we're in the information age. We need to elaborate and get involved more in the tertiary part of it. We need to get into the light industry, the textile industry. We should be doing microchips here. We have an industrial park. That's an enormous facility that we could do so much with. I think that we are limiting ourselves, and we need to broaden the landscape so that all types of businesses that are clean, healthy, and environmentally friendly can be attracted to the Virgin Islands. We have the ideal climate, and I think that we need to promote ourselves more, especially the island of St. Croix. We must develop ourselves. There's no self-sufficiency without internal development for self-sufficiency.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, 60 seconds.
Building tourism here, we must fuel money in our historical site. The upgrading and maintaining our historical site is a must. We must also encourage our young people to be involved in excursions. We have to put the money, the resources necessary to enhance that. And in addition to helping build the economy, I'm an advocate for sports tourism. Sports tourism bring money here, have individuals fuel their financial resources in our economy, and it also addresses the ills in our economy. So we must, as legislature, make sure that monies and resources are channeled in those areas in order for us to experience enhancement.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Wakefield. Medical marijuana was intended as a possible boost to the economy, and an office has been created to develop policies and procedures for oversight of medical marijuana in the territory. It appears that little has come from it thus far. What do you see as the role of the legislature in addressing this matter? 60 seconds.
Well, the legislature was responsible for passing the law to allow that. So the legislature must be responsible to regulate how it's going to be executed. And thus far, I don't see it as something that's going to unfold in a healthy way, because let's face it, those small brothers and sisters who are out there peddling the little, what you call dime bags and stuff, they are not going to have any money to invest into a medical marijuana program. And I think that we need to revisit that and tweak it, because if we say medicinal is strictly medicinal. That's what it means for health purposes. So this is something that I think needs to be tweaked, and I think that this cannot be a runaway train and just capitalized by people who have money to invest in it. I don't want to see another disparity for the people of the Virgin Islands.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, 60 seconds.
Passing legislation without the financial resources to implement it is challenging. So it needs to be revisited, and then the senators working with the administration to assess and find out what can be done in order to move forward with that. Any herb, I'm a supporter of utilizing herb as medicine, but must be done, and as much more must be done. And as a legislator, using their oversight to make whatever adjustment necessary with the law, and also having the funding to implement such law is necessary. What incentive they can give to individuals who are interested in setting up is also important. So we must make sure that whenever legislation is passed, the necessary resources accompany it in order for it to be successful.
Thank you. And Ms. Whitaker, 60 seconds.
Thank you. One of my first initiatives legislatively among my series of legislations as I first crafted was addressing our own legislation. The medicinal cannabis came within the law that if you were a felon at all, at any time, that in fact you could not participate in the cannabis industry locally, on the farm and the like. So I began by first addressing that. Also with my colleagues, also joined by the administration, we did in fact we took a trip to Colorado, in which we drove home and also did some exchanges surrounding some of the challenges surrounding the implementation of recreational marijuana, recreational cannabis. And I will say that it's going to require oversight, but it's going to also require us making a legislative decision to move forward with the community and support also for those who are in the industry.
Thank you. We have time for each candidate to expand on any one topic of choice for 60 seconds before we move to the closing statement. Let's start with Nemi Williams-Jackson.
Again, I'm Nemi, number 15 on the ballot. One topic that I would like to expound on is our approach to health care. We must begin to take care of our people from a preventative care standpoint. Reactive care is not enough. We must take the load off of our healthcare system. So through initiative, incentive, education, such as one that I'm doing now every Saturday, empowering our residents in information in order for them to take better care of themselves, in order for them to have a better life and not worry about becoming ill. And if they're in fact ill, giving them method and expounding on information where they will be able to utilize to make better of themselves. So healthcare is something that, like I said, we need to approach from a preventative standpoint, and not just with our elderlies, also with our children. We need to make sure that health education is in our school system. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. And Monarch Wakefield, 60 seconds.
Repeat the question.
Well, it was any topic of concern that you have an interest in talking about.
Can they overlap?
What do you mean overlap?
Okay, because like if you're talking about education, crime, healthcare, you know we have serious crisis with the mental health issues in the Virgin Islands.
One topic that you choose that you'd like to, yes, okay. 60 seconds.
Quite frankly, I'm going to address the youth population. Youth advocacy must be central, critical, must be in the forefront, because the youths are the ones who have to take the mantle to carry on the Virgin Islands. We must emphasize at every level of our government to preserve them, which means that more must be done on all levels, through the educational system, through the recreational system, through all social systems, to ensure that our youths are protected and preserved and are given the opportunity to grow and develop and prosper. So more programs need to be done, more effort, more funding needs to be put into them, and to make sure that they are integrated into the educational system so that there is a smooth transition from one level to the next.
Thank you.
The youth, definitely.
Genevieve Whitaker.
Thank you. We have to really focus and zone in on educational reform in such a way that our children, again, are leaving school with the skills necessary, that they can leave school, become entrepreneurs. Another topic as it pertains to workforce development is that we have to do more to support the workforce community. Too much, we have moved so far away from the support for professional development. There's a lot of morale issues within government, just even the approach to the workday. We have to really work on restoring a merit system whereby we have systems in place and we have agencies and departments whereby the morale is lifted and whereby persons are rewarded for great work, but also too, we have to hold people accountable who are not doing the work. We, the community, suffer when individuals don't go to work every day passionate about moving and shifting the needle forward. Number 5 on your ballot.
Thank you. Now candidates will have 60 seconds each for a closing statement, starting with Genevieve Whitaker.
I am humbly asking for your support and vote on November 8th. I'm number 5 on your ballot. Please put back a person who is dedicated to you, who will continue to champion your rights, continue to, in the spaces of education, healthcare, economic development, crime prevention, all the areas to improve the quality of our lives. Let me continue to champion youth infrastructure. I am the one who is pushing forward for us to restore our youth infrastructure. I not only believe in our youth, but I also want to continue to work on behalf of our youth, to our elders, ensuring that we do more for them, that we continue to support them, and everyone in between. I'm humbly asking for you to return me to the legislature as I work with individuals who would work on your behalf.
Monarch Wakefield, 60 seconds.
Monarch Wakefield, number 7. We must build consensus across party lines. We can't lock ourselves out of serving our community, serving our people by just emphasizing party politics. I am running because I hear the cries and the frustrations of the people of the Virgin Islands. I'm running because this is my home and I have nowhere else to go. I'm running because I'm passionate about serving this community, and my record speaks for itself. And this is an opportunity to put someone in the legislature who will work, who will fight, and who will fight the good fight with honor, dignity, and character. A man who loves his people. I'm community conscious, community oriented. I'm dedicated and committed to the growth, development, success, and prosperity of the people of my beloved Virgin Islands.
Thank you. Nemi Williams Jackson.
I am Nemi Jackson, number 15 on the ballot. I am also an auxiliary because I care for the veterans. I am an educator because I care for our children, because they hold the key to our future advancement. I'm also a Rotarian. Service above self is their motto, something that I have been displaying for years. I am a Rotarian because I care for the members of this community, especially our seniors, because of all they have contributed to this community. Make me your choice in the 35th legislature. I am Nemi Jackson, number 15 on the ballot.
Thank you, candidates, and thank you, WTJX TV and staff, for today's program. Thank you for watching and for understanding my choice to wear a mask today. The League of Women Voters hopes this program has helped with your understanding of the candidates, and in so doing will inform your vote in November. I am Francine Lang for the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands, saying, vote early or vote in November, but vote.